Okay, good morning. It's been a while since I sat here last time. Yeah, I suddenly remember I used to bring my dog downstairs and read books. Um, it's been a while. I just stopped doing that because my dog doesn't want to get up. In the morning, she would get really grumpy because she thought I'm gonna take her to run, and she doesn't want to run with me. She's lazy. She's getting a bit. Looks like she's getting fatter, but maybe she doesn't. Maybe she didn't gain any weight. Anyway, I'm gonna continue on chapter 4. Yeah, let me see. Maybe 5. Breaking free is from there. um, some people inherit values and practices as a house they inhabit. Some of us have to burn down that house, find our own ground, build from scratch, even as a psychological metamorphosis. Rebecca Sonnet. Not who I wanted to be. After rejecting the job offer, I took time to reflect on what I wanted. I revisited a letter I had written for a leadership class during business school. In it, I defined a leader broadly as someone that could be a role model in all aspects of their life. I specifically listed 9 principles, a collection of phrases, quotes, ideas, and beliefs that I hoped to embody throughout my career. Some examples included a desire to lead with empathy, to embrace humility, to inject humor wherever possible, to avoid becoming too serious, to prioritize learning, to think independently, and to create memorable experiences for others through my work. I decided to turn this into a self-assessment and reviewed each of the 9 principles, scoring myself on a scale of 1 to 10. A few areas earned low scores. First, my curiosity and passion for learning at work were non-existent. Second, I was struggling to think independently in a positive way. I was becoming cynical and confrontational rather than looking for ways to have a positive impact. Finally, I had become too serious about work. At some point, I had lost my sense of humor and was spending far too much time getting caught up in company politics. Simply put, I was a curmudgeon. I was a curmudgeon at work. I don't know the word. I've never seen it. Curmudgeon. Curmudgeon at work. Increasingly cynical about the intentions of leaders, not learning anything beyond the latest office gossip. Deep down, I knew these things, but I hadn't chosen to face what I knew. Putting a score on a page showed me that I was struggling to become the kind of person I thought I could be. Jerry Colonna, an investor turned executive coach, asks his clients this question: how are you complicit in creating the conditions you say you don't want? After the reflection, I knew that I was complicit. I also knew that if I wanted things to change, it was solely up to me. In business school, I created a vision of the kind of leader and person I wanted to be, and 5 years later, I realized I was headed in the wrong direction. When I wrote that paper, my model of the world was one in which my principles would triumph over my environment. If those principles still mattered to me, which they did, I needed to get more creative about how I could bring them forth in my life and career. Email from Sarasto. I think it's time to move on. I wrote that sentence in a hotel room in Sarasota, Florida. I had just arrived for the weekend to attend a friend's wedding. I opened my laptop to check work emails before heading down to the pool and saw several emails from my manager. There was nothing special about those emails, but that day I couldn't pretend to care about the latest client's crisis. Anyone who has worked in client or customer-facing jobs knows that the work mostly focuses on reacting to ongoing mini-crises. Almost everyone agrees that these issues are not are not all that important, but almost no one can stop themselves from reacting to each one with equal enthusiasm and panic. I told my manager that I found his emails unnecessarily aggressive. He disagreed, and we argued a bit back and forth. At the end of one exchange, I added, "I think I should move on." He interpreted this remark as a formal resignation and had probably been expecting this moment since I had choked up in his office. I had no conscious intention to quit right then, but I couldn't muster up a single ounce of energy to tell him otherwise. I sat in my hotel room and didn't know what to think. I could stop what I had set in motion, but I didn't. I felt excited but confused. Did I just quit? I walked down to the pool to start the wedding weekend, saw a friend and said, "I think I just quit my job." So much of life is like this. We are surprised at the moment something happens, but looking back, we realize that everything makes sense. Losing my grandfather, getting rejected from jobs repeatedly, never finding the right fit, facing health challenges and hard questions were all events that sent me in an inevitable direction that was only obvious upon reflection. When I quit, it was the only thing left to do. It took me 10 seconds at the bottom of an email. Commuting in a blob. I stayed in a job for 3 months to train my replacement and help the team's transition. It was about 3 months too long. No single day stands out. I stuck to my daily routine, arriving each morning at the 7 train subway platform. I boarded the train for the single-stop journey from Queens to Manhattan. Then I slid my body into the masses of people and became part of a massive blob of workers making our way into the mecca of work. Each day I searched for signs of life. I would force a smile and look around to see if anyone noticed. No one ever did. So I gave up and adopted the natural, uninterested smirk that everyone seemed to understand was the proper way to be. When we pulled into Grand Central, the blob became active with people joking for position to embark on their unique path through the labyrinth of stairs and tunnels. I had my own special route and knew the speed and angles to make it to my desk as fast as possible. On my first day at this job, the first time I had worked in New York City, I paused and took a deep breath as I walked through the center of the station. It felt special. It was special. Now I wanted no part of it, but each morning I continued to go through the motions. The building I worked in, now known as the MetLife building, was built next to Grand Central Station in 1963 and was universally panned at the time. Architecture critic Ada Louis Huxtable called it a lesson in how to be mediocre without really trying. 20 stories up in that building was my office. Its furnishings dating back to the 1970s or 1980s. The offices of the senior partners, still mostly men, were located along the building's outside walls. Decades after the office had been built, their positions and sizes were still clear markers of the importance. My small office was a step up from the cubicles, but I was still years away from having a real office. I always appreciated the clarity of these distinctions. So many companies seem afraid to make these power dynamics visible, disguising them behind open offices and casual dress codes. In those final months, I was in a liminal space between two worlds. I had decided to take a leap to a different path but had not yet changed direction. I struggled to process how I was feeling, held captive by accumulated frustration and anxiety. When I thought about my future, everything came up blank. I did my best to pretend I knew what I was doing, but for the first time in my life, I was operating without a script. Was I doing the right thing? It didn't really matter. There was no turning back. I was embarking on a new path, and I had no choice but to find out. As the final day at work approached, I pretended to be excited, but I was merely existing, one day at a time. Okay. This is nice to read. I'm excited for the next book club session we have. Thanks for reading with me. Bye.